We are pleased today to have the director of Compass for Hope. Make sure I got the right preposition. Compass, sometimes we say to hope, but Compass for Hope. The director, Mike Garrison, with us today to give us an update on the ministry. He is much beloved. Carol said she would only give me an elbow bump, but she hugged Mike, just to let you know where the love is. But Mike, would you share a little bit with us about the ministry? I think there are a couple video clips that will come up too in just a moment.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for letting me come this morning. Thank you for the support. You have an absolute treasure in Miss Carol. So she's been a huge fan of ours for a while. I wish I could tell you I had a long history of doing this, but I don't. A couple of years ago, it was on my heart to do something, and I finally got tired of sitting on my tail every Sunday afternoon, and so I just went downtown and I tried to do something to make a difference. I wanted to be different. I felt like the status quo wasn't working, and so we very intentionally try to be different. We've always offered a meal and give away what we call blessing bags, which is all of the travel-sized toiletries and things, and we also give away clothing. I would have to openly admit that the Lord has certainly blessed what we do. We have grown amazingly over the last couple of years, and it's just it's really the highlight of my week. I hate to speak like I'm repeating tweets or one-liners, but there's so much opportunity to help some of these folks that we get to serve downtown, and so I felt like I wasn't making a difference, sitting at home, and so I decided to go downtown and do something. This really all started, my daughter, when she was about 12 years old, asked me if we could go work at a soup kitchen. And I don't remember where I called or who I talked to, but what I remember is she wasn't old enough. And I have to admit that my daughter's now 27, so I kind of dropped the ball, and I missed the opportunity to take her and get to do stuff. And so we try to never say anybody's too young. I don't think there's a child too young to serve. It's certainly an eye-opening experience. Sometimes I get kissed, sometimes I get hugged, and sometimes I get cussed out, and sometimes it's all by the same person. So it's right. You never know, and it's funny because a lot of the homeless community, they want to call me preacher, and I tell them, y'all, I'm far from a preacher, but they're very accustomed to it being churches that come out and help, and so it's a little bit confusing for them when we come out and we're not specifically a certain denomination. We're just a bunch of people that decided to try to make a difference. One of my favorite books and movies is Same Kind of Different as Me. If you haven't seen or read it, I highly recommend it. But Denver Moore is the homeless man in the story, and I won't ruin too much of it for you, but he said one of the things that just hit me like a ton of bricks, and it was he and Ron Hall, the other main character in the book, they were going and visiting a lot of Bible study groups, and after weeks and weeks and weeks of this, Denver proclaimed that he was tired of hanging out with Bible study groups. He wanted to, if Ron could find a Bible doing group, he'd like to go visit them. I grew up in a Methodist church. I feel very comfortable this morning with the hymnals and scriptures, and I'm certainly not saying coming to church isn't important. I believe it absolutely is. But for me personally, hanging out with homeless people, I have felt a whole lot closer to God than I ever did sitting in a pew. John and I had breakfast a couple of weeks ago, and I shared that with him. It's not always politically correct. It's not always proper, but it's always very impactful on my heart. We had been doing this for just a few weeks back in 2018, and we were under the 15th Street Bridge at the time, and we had the food line set up and everything was going to the point that I wasn't necessarily needed in line, and I was standing out in front of the